Okay, making or changing the subject. Some books say making X the subject, but changing the subject. At the moment in this equation, as my example, Y is the subject. And I'm on page 39, yep. And it says in the instructions, make X the subject. So in other words, I want the final answer to say X equals. What happens in all equations, like that one for example, is the equation has an equal sign and it means it's perfectly in balance. So what I like to do is picture a seesaw or a balance scale. Alright, so 3a, if I wrote it like this, is in balance with 7. Okay, there is an equal sign in the middle, but yeah. When you work with equations, you have to keep the whole equation in balance. Keep the balance set of scales equal. So in other words, if I added 3 kilograms to the left, I would need to add 3 kilograms to the right. Same as minusing. If I minus 10 from the left, I have to minus 10 from the right. It has to stay in balance. I can even multiply. If I double the stuff on the left, I have to double the stuff on the right. And as long as you keep the equation in balance, you can do whatever operation you like, but as long as you do it to both sides. Even if I had made the equation slightly more difficult, I could say triple both the left and the right, which I need brackets to do. As long as you do the same thing to both sides, you're allowed to do it. Divide, times, plus, minus, even, square, and square root. So in other words, I could square both sides and the equation would stay in balance. As long as I do it to both sides, it'll stay in balance. Okay, now what I tell you all that because with this problem here, I want to get X by itself. At the moment, it is being multiplied by A. X is being multiplied by A. To undo multiplication, you should always divide. So put this on a balanced scale. Y is on that side, balanced with AX. If I divide this side by A, I have to divide this side by A. Luckily, it's not luckily, mathematically, if you divide A by A, you end up with 1, and they cancel each other. So fortunately, or not fortunately, but on purpose, I've got X by itself, and on the left, I've got Y divided by A. Okay, a nice simple one to start with. So the answer here really is X equals Y over A. I've just used division to undo the A, and I've kept the thing in balance. There's a few blank faces. I'll do another few examples. Number 3. Okay, if you're following on the same page as me, page 39, number 3 looks like this. X divided by 10 is in perfect balance with the letter Y. And again, we're trying to get X by itself. X has been divided by 10. To undo division by 10, I should... How do you undo division? Well, did someone say it? Multiply? Yeah. Multiply by 10. And again, do this to both sides so we stay in balance. The 10s cancel themselves out. If you take any number in the world, times it by 10, divide it by 10, you get back to the same number as you started with. So in other words, x now is balanced exactly with y times 10. That's both sides. X happens to be by itself. The answer becomes 10y. Same as y times 10, right? Let's do a couple more. Looking at question 9. Reads y equals 2x plus 5. Now you have to think about the order and that things were done to x, and you have to reverse that order. So if you think about your x, did 5 get added to you first, or did 2 get multiplied to you first? The answer is, if your x, 2 was multiplied to you, and then 5 was added, okay, that was the order things happened. So you have to reverse that order. So in other words, if the last thing to happen to x was 5 was added, the first thing you must do is take away 5 from both sides. Undoing plus, take away. So the new equation looks like this: y minus 5, 2x. I've just shifted the positive 5, subtracted it from both sides, which is legit, and I end up with that new equation. Now, to get x fully by itself, I have to divide both sides by 2. Divide by 2, divide by 2. So in other words, y minus 5 over 2, because that's what it would look like, now equals x. The times 2 divided by 2, they cancel each other out, and we're left with x by itself. Look at question 14. It reads x bracket x plus 4 equals p. I want x by itself. With 14, we have to keep the y plus 4 in the brackets, keep those things together, and simply divide by y plus 4 on both sides. Do that to that side, do it to that side, keep it in perfect balance, and the answer becomes p over y plus 4. And keep things together, right? I'll do number 21 and then I'll be quiet. X over 3 equals y. We're trying to make x the subject. To undo a square root, we square. Okay? So, as long as I square both sides of the seesaw or the balance scales, undoing square root that does something that gets rid of it, must equal y squared. Okay? And then I'm going to times 3. Well done. I'm going to times by 3 because x was divided by 3. To undo a divided by, I times both sides by 3, and x becomes 3y squared.